This
Patients here,
conference will now be recorded.
and I've been in healthcare industry for the past 8 years,
Okay.
working mostly on integrations between different healthcare applications, which include different practice managements, electronic health record systems, and also lab information systems, which mainly deals with integration between these applications using HL7 CCDs and different interface engines like Mirth interface engine, Rhapsody, Allscripts interface engine, etc. So we'll get into those details once we initiate the session.
Okay.
Um, and I'm married, no sons or daughters so far.
Okay.
And my hobbies are like singing and playing guitar and um, tennis.
Okay. Cool. Good to know, Dixon.
Yep. And yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So myself, I am also a healthcare professional. I got around 15 years of healthcare experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a functional consultant. I managed projects. I managed integration projects. I worked on some of the integrations. I worked on the Epic EMR, like many of the payer systems on the HL7, HIPAA, XMLs. So yeah, pretty much you name it, I pretty much worked on. But
Mm-hmm.
coming to the hands-on, I want to completely rebrush myself with HL7, CDA, and Mirth. So that's where I'm actually looking in at this time.
Okay.
Yeah. So and we are actually currently working. I mean, I'm going hands-on onto integrating HL7 application. I mean, now we're getting HL7 transactions from various other systems
Mm-hmm.
in various other forms, and then we are actually building a CD out of it. So
Okay.
that's my goal of getting through into this session, and I
Okay.
will also work on getting a certification for HL7 and CDA uh,
Okay.
based on of your inputs, how it goes, and how organized we can go forward. So
Yep.
how does your course look like? I did look at the Word document you sent me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, So help me understand like an overview of how does your approach go, because um, I have a basic understanding of HL7, so I think we can jumpstart quickly onto the messages and see how we can build those and what are the required and the versus the optional and unused ones, and then how can we actually integrate. I mean, when I say hands on, I would actually look into those messages, the data itself, to
Mm-hmm.
authenticate it and then go from there. So Mirth is one of the system that where this data is coming from. So I want to really understand how Mirth works and how the HL7 is integrated. I mean, used within Mirth and how it's being translated to any of the CDA systems. So I really need to understand the hops in between.
Okay. So so if I understand you right, basically what you're looking for is uh, how we generate HL7 messages and how we use HL7 messages to in turn generate CDA messages, which are CCDs or CCRs, whatever.
Yeah, CDA and CCDA. Um,
Okay.
and also I have to understand. I should have a good understanding of the HL7 messages, all the possible messages that are available when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to labs, RAD, CAD, cardio, pathology, microbes. So any of the laboratory services versus
Mm-hmm.
this cardiology, radiology,
Okay.
editing. So yeah, pretty much I think I need to understand the end to end of HL7 um, on a very granular level, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. So so first in our course we will so this course is basically covers all the basics of HL7
Mhm.
and basics of mirth. Not even basics, I would say little less than intermediate level of mirth, where it covers various message types like ADTs, SIUs, DFT, ORU, ORM,
Mm-hmm.
and MDM, and little bit coverage of QRY query messages as well.
Okay, so ORU and ORX is also part of that.
ORU and ORM, orders and result messages. Yes, it
Yeah.
is part of them.
Okay.
And when we come to CDA, CDA would fall under a different course altogether. We'll go through very basics of CDA, not completely,
Mm-hmm.
because going through CDA is yeah. When we talk about CDA, we will go only through CCDs or CCDA or whatever, about the clinical care document, the
Mm-hmm.
architecture of clinical care document, how messages are constructed in CDA, and very basics of that.
Okay.
So your question was very specific to receiving HL7 message and generating CCDs. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean that's on a very high level. I would say maybe 20,000 foot you're looking at.
Okay.
So
So,
I got to authenticate. I have to understand the HL7s that are coming in
hmm,
are pretty much good enough for us to
okay.
consume and then build a CCDA or CDA down the line.
Okay. So, may I know the business requirement behind it? Is it okay for you to share?
I mean, I cannot go into the grander details, but yeah, the requirement is on a very high level. It's an integration
Hmm.
application what we are building, where
Okay.
the input is HL7 and
Hmm.
also text or XML messages that would flow in, and then we are generating CCDA out of it. So consolidation of these HL7 messages to integrate and then build a CDA.
Okay.
So will you also have access Excel XSLT covered as part of this?
No, we will not have XSLT because we have Mirth, right? So in Mirth, we mostly build all the transformations in JavaScript within the Mirth console.
Okay.
So we will not have separate translation files or XSLT, as you said, to do the transformations and all.
Okay. Can you at least give me a basic understanding on the XSLT?
Yeah, yeah, I can cover that. Um, so, but XSLTs, do you have you seen the XSLT files before?
I did, but I
Okay.
don't have a complete understanding on that. But I did see them.
Yeah, it's very basic. So let me search if I have down the line. Once we reach at the point where we discuss about transformations, we will go through the basics of XSLT.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not needed. XSLTs are needed only when you don't have the console within the integration engine to go ahead and do some sort of transformations. But within Mirth, we don't have that problem.
Okay.
Anyways, we'll go through that down the line.
Okay.
So first we will start with the basics. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So you are aware of HIPAA and
I worked on
all.
4010 to 5010 conversions of the claims. I mean, many of the HIPAA transactions.
Okay. So you worked on X12 message types.
Very much, yeah. I have a hands-on on X12, so yeah.
Okay, good, good. So I think I don't need to cover much about healthcare basics as you are already aware, but
And
we'll quickly go through the hospital workflow. So by the end of this session, we will understand where do we listen HL7 most of the times and what are the basics of hospital workflow and what is HL7, why the name has come, and
yeah,
how interfaces are built and role of HL7 in interfaces
yeah,
and HL7 structure.
yeah. I implemented a couple of hospital information systems, not only
Okay.
here but also in US. So, okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. Great. So So within hospital, as we have a patient come in, they will reach the receptionist desk. First, they will register themselves, and um, so all the data which is related to registration is referred to as demographics, which is specifically like patient name, date of birth, gender, SSN, and the insurance details, etc. And all the charges related information also resides on the receptionist desk. And the application which handles all of this is called as practice management. Um, and once the receptionist takes all the details of the patients, they will give details like then the receptionist will query the patient on what they need, which appointment they need, like orthopedic or cardio or whatever, and they schedule an appointment within that practice management application. And once that is done, receptionist will go to the doctor's desk to meet the doctor. And at the doctor's desk, we have another application which is called as EMR, electronic health record. Okay, and we'll get into details about PM and EHR, practice management, and electronic health record down the line, as you are already familiar with those applications already. And
Yeah.
once patient meets the provider, we refer that term as that particular action as an encounter.
Mhm.
When patient meets a doctor and discusses about his problem, and in case if doctor wants to place any orders, they will place an order with the lab. And once the labs are done, the labs will return the results back to the provider or the EHR application. And based on the analysis or diagnosis, provider will go ahead and treat the patient. Once that is done, next charges related to provider and the labs go back to the receptionist. Okay. So, so this is the very high level workflow. The reason why I take through the hospital workflow, I've completed very quickly because you are already aware of
Yeah. I mean, this is the
healthcare
workflow.
workflow.
Actually, it works only in Asia subcontinent. I think the workflow differ from globally. Actually,
Yeah, this is very high level. The reason why I covered this is most of the times down the line when we discuss about various message types and various actions, trigger events that we come across, we'll relate back to the hospital workflow so that we can understand the message type in detail and what are the contents of each message types of HL7 message, which for which this particular workflow lies as the blueprint, and we can understand those message types and their structures very easily. So, which is why this is important.
okay,
So, as you're already aware of X12, I don't think I would need to explain why do we need HL7. So, basically, HL7 is used for the integrations between hospital related systems and lab information systems, because applications cannot understand each other. There needs to be a common language so that each of these applications don't need to understand the architecture of their own their databases that they are integrating with. For example, when we talk about practice management, it has a different database architecture altogether. And when we talk about electronic health record, it has different database architecture altogether. Similarly, it goes the same with lab information system. If the practice management wants to send a patient details to electronic health record, um, it needs to understand what is the database architecture of electronic health record and then write a query or do something to go ahead and insert that data into the database of electronic health record. So, say for example, when a patient walks in, a patient name is registered and his initial details, like all of his basic demographic details, are registered within the database. And once that is done, doctor doesn't want to insert or enter the patient details again in his electronic health record. It doesn't make any sense. Which is why the necessity of data flow from practice management to electronic health record or any other system is a requirement which came in and which generated the requirement of data flow between these systems. Okay. So now when the patient is registered here in the front desk, the patient details should flow over to the electronic health record and should be inserted into the database which is at the electronic health record. And this can be done in various ways. As I said, in the initial way, if you want to insert the data into the electronic health record, as soon as something is registered in practice management, it would require the understanding of the database of electronic health record, which is highly impossible for another system, another so or for a user or for a developer to go ahead and write queries and insert the data into the database, understanding it. So if it is one system that they are integrating with, then that's okay. They can understand the database architecture of electronic health record and then write the queries to do so. But what if they are integrating with 10 other systems out there, which will essentially generate understanding of all the 10 different systems architectures and then go ahead and write um, queries or programs for each of those systems differently, which is a very big and hectic work. To bring down that whole length of work, we have come up with a language which is called as HL7. So where HL7 is treated as a common language uh, to integrate between these applications. So what happens here when we talk about when we use HL7, practice management will generate HL7 messages, convert the data in the database into HL7 message whenever a patient is registered at the front desk and will send it over to electronic health record. Electronic health record will consume HL7 message and then in turn it will go ahead and translate the data and insert that data into the database. As HL7 becomes the common language which could be understood by all the parties within the healthcare industry, this will cut down the need for each of those applications to understand the architecture of the other databases. So each practice management or each application that is being involved in the integration doesn't need to know the architecture of the other database in order to send or insert data into their destination application. They just need to go ahead and generate HL7 messages and send it over to the destination party. And as destination party understands HL7, they will just consume the message and then they will do their own transactions to go ahead and insert the data into their database. So this, as I said, this will build a common workflow and both the parties or how many ever number of parties are integrating don't need to worry much about the native language of their own applications that they are integrating with. So is it clear? Any questions so far, Lakshmi?
No, no, I think we can jump ahead. I think
Yeah.
this is a common understanding, right? Which
Yes.
technically I would have it. Move on to the further, maybe the details of the HL7.
Yep. So I think these are very basics.
Yeah, you
So
can
let's
jump.
quickly jump into HL7. Okay.
Yeah.
So why is the name HL7 given? So mostly the name is given based on the OSI model layer, where all the transformations related to HL7 are done at application level using various integration engines, which is why as the application layer is the seventh layer, so it is called as health level 7. This is how the basic name is given,
Yep.
and so here we will start our message structure and all. So like any other languages, HL7 has its own grammar and syntaxes. and we'll look into the messages in detail in a while. And there are various versions. Currently, there is version 2.3, 2.5, 2.7, which is widely used in the industry. 3 has been introduced few years ago, but it there that is not widely accepted because of the complications of the message structure.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have so within HL7 we have more than 50 data types, 80 message types, and 86 event types. We'll go ahead and look at few of them to understand them better. And latest version is FHIR.
Yep.
So FHIR is being accepted by the industry in the from the recent past because of its ease of handling messages, which is mainly in the form of XML or JSON. As it is lightweight, it is being JSON is being more acquired for mobile integrations or iPad or various integrations. But HL7 is still playing the role in the market when we talk about integrations between healthcare applications still.
Right. And
So
what
this is
what
the
is
version.
what is the difference between 2.3 and 2.5? Is there a major difference between them?
No, I would say two dot. There is two the delta between 2.3 and 2.5 is nothing but addition of few data elements in various segments, but there is no much change. Structure
Okay.
remains same,
Yeah.
and you can pass on 2.3 message to an application which is translating 2.7 related HL7 messages as well. It doesn't make a lot of difference.
Okay. And you would
So
have the complete list of all the messages, right?
when we say, what do you mean by complete list of all the messages?
Message types.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I will cover various message types as I said in the beginning. 5 or 6 different message types and its content in detail, and how they are used in the hospital workflow and all. So we'll go through them.
Mm-hmm.
And advantages, as you already know, X12. Um, so it will enable sharing of medical data and billing data with HL7 enabled applications, data transfer in the form of messages. No special tools are required for creating messages, and it can work on any OS because it is independent of
Yeah.
what type of OS it is. It can generate HL7 messages. Uh, I mean, Mirth integration engine or any integration engine can just need to have access to the database, whether it's based on database based out of Unix, Linux, or Windows or whatever it is.
Right.
And standards, I think we do definitely need standards, a governing body, in order to ensure that these things follow some specific set of rules and regulations. I think you are already aware of HIPAA, so
Mm-hmm.
um, HL7 also works based on HIPAA confrontants and all. So they do follow those rules and regulations.
Right. Okay.
So here starts our actual work. Um, so here we will start HL7. So HL7, like any other XML message, so you worked on XML as well, right?
Yes,
Before.
I did. I did. I did.
So in XML we have various tags, parent tags and child tags, right? In the
Mm-hmm.
same way, HL7 message also little bit similar to what we have, but what we have in XML, but it looks little different, and the message structure is a little different. We'll get into the message structure in next slide. But before going to the message structure, there is something we need to understand, which is called as trigger event. So a trigger event is nothing but an event which really happens in the real-time world, which will generate the need for the data to flow from one system to the other. So, for example, when we relate this back to the hospital workflow, a patient walks in and gets his name registered, details, and initial basic details will be entered into the practice management system. And once that is entered, the receptionist will save that data, or the front desk manager will save that information. That saving is an action which happens, and as soon as something is saved, that saved data has to flow to the destination system, which is nothing but the electronic health record which the doctor holds. So this act or this event is considered as one event. Okay.
Yep.
And once that is done, there is another event which happens at the front desk, which is nothing but scheduling an appointment for specific doctor. So once that scheduling is done and an appointment is saved, that acts as second event within the hospital workflow, for which the data has to flow to provider's desk again. So in this way, all the actions which happens in the hospital workflow right from the beginning where the patient enters into the hospital till he leaves, all of these actions are divided into different events. So these events are actually creating or generating the need for the data to flow from one system to the other. So these events are called as trigger events.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So mostly HL7 is based on these events itself. All different types of HL7 messages are related to uh, all these events that happens.
Right.
Okay. So as I said, as soon as patient gets to the hospital desk, first registration is one event, appointment scheduling is another event. Once the patient meets the doctor, labs are considered as another two events. Okay. And then once everything is done, labs has two events like placing an order, receiving the results back from the labs. So these are two events happening there. Okay. And charges is nothing but whatever patient has to be charged, that information will flow back, or that information is sent back from provider or from labs back to the um, hospital front desk. So that is considered as another event. And any integrations, if there are with charges, pharmacies or insurance companies, those are considered as other events. But insurances and pharmacies don't necessarily use HL7. They use different message types. With pharmacies, they use e-prescribe, and with insurances, as you know, they use X12 EDI type.
Yep.
So so let's look at anatomy of HL7. Nothing but um this is a small example for the basic people to understand it. As you already know HL7, I don't think I would need to cover it. Let's go to the directly to the anatomy of the actual message. Is that okay, or you want me to cover the example?
No, not required. I think we can jump
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So basically, an HL7 message uh, contains of many segments, and each segment is divided into fields, and
Mm-hmm.
each field has components, and each component has is again subdivided into subcomponent. It's like you peel off the onion one by one. In the same way, each message type has many segments, and each segment is again divided into many fields, and each field is again divided into many components, and each component is again divided into subcomponent. So in order to go ahead and understand the structure, and in order to divide these segments, fields, and components, we definitely need few delimiters, which are used as standard in HL7, and they will mainly act as separators for each of these individual components that we are discussing about. Okay, so um, let's look at the message delimiters which we use. So segment terminator, which is nothing but which will terminate the segment, each
Yep.
HL7 message segment.
Yep.
We use carriage return, which indicates that this particular segment is done. When I talk about segment, as we said, each message has many segments. So the segment end is indicated using a carriage return.
Right.
And field separator. Within each segment, there are many fields, and these fields are separated with the help of a pipe. Okay,
Yep.
the symbol that you see here, and then component separator within the data for one field, which is nothing but when we say field, as I said, fields are separated with the help of pipes. So if there is something between two pipes, that is considered as one field, and data within two pipes, which is nothing but data between one field, is again divided into components with
Component.
the
Like
help of component separator, which is caret.
an example, like a patient first name, middle name, and last name, right?
Right, exactly.
Yep.
So so each of those, if you consider name as a field, the
Yes.
first name is considered as one component, say last name is considered as another, and middle name is considered as another, and these three are divided using caret.
Right.
And when we talk about subcomponent separator, this is very rarely used and you don't see much. Um, but when we look at phone numbers, if there is area code and phone number, then that is in those scenarios we do use subcomponent separator within for the phone number indication. And
For a phone number and an extension, can you use a subcomponent separator in between?
yes, you can use.
Okay.
So, but you directly see them in most of the messages. It depends on how a person is interpreting the or how the programmer is interpreting the message. So mostly we can use if you want to use. And repetition separator is nothing but it indicates that within a field there are two types of the same data element. For example, say we have a patient and his patient related patient ID, and also there is another number within the hospital system that they are using called as medical record number. So these two indicate the unique identifiers of that patient who is registered in the system. Okay, and when they are sending out data to third party system, they'll say that we'll send both the IDs, you use whatever you want to use. In those cases, in PID3, in one of the segments, they are sending data of same nature, which is nothing but an ID within one field. So that specific thing is indicated using repetition separator. Okay.
Right. Yep.
So for that we use tilde, which will specifically indicate the repetition separator. And now uh, we'll go back to the escape character. Go to the escape character. Escape character is nothing but as we traditionally use in the HL7, sorry, HTML. The backslash is used to go ahead and escape the immediate sequence which comes after that particular escape character within the field or within the mostly within the fields. In case if you want to escape something where we don't want the program to read it, then we use escape character. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So let's go to the message structure. So as you have already worked on it, let me cover very basics of it first. Um, so we will talk about
So
and
how
it,
is the structure looking like? It starts with MSH.
yeah,
HIPAA,
we'll
right? It starts with
yes.
ST and SE, ends with SE. So similarly, it starts with MSH and ends with
It
PV1. No,
no.
it doesn't.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
we'll get there. I This is just a basic structure of an ADT message. But before that, we need to understand what are the message types that we have, even before
So
going into details of HL7. I'm just showing you the structure,
right.
um, so you can have an understanding of how HL7 message looks. I mean, this is again for the uh, basic people who doesn't know HL7 at all.
Yeah.
So, but it is not necessary that it has to end with some segment. There is no defined rule that it has to end with some segment. But
So there is no structure you're saying. I mean, it starts with MSH for sure, but there is no
right,
ending you're saying.
there is there is no ending in the sense it is not a base rule that it has to end with this. But There are few things which we have to keep in mind while building HL7 messages. Based on the message type, we will have a few required segment that has to be there, and there are few optional segments which can be there, or it's okay for them not to be there in the message itself. So when we talk about, we will get there on what are the required segments for each message types, and what are the optional segments for each message types, and what are the required fields for sure, and what are the
Mm-hmm.
optional fields. But first we will understand what are the different message types we have. So when we talk about message types, we will again relate back to the hospital workflow. All the information which is pertaining to registration, like uh, patient getting registered,
Mm-hmm.
or patient moving to a different facility altogether, all of this fall under one major head or major aspect of hospital workflow, which is called as admit, discharge, and transfer.
So ADT you're talking
Okay,
about. Okay.
it's called as an ADT.
Yep.
Okay, and this whole action is falling under ADT, and each of these ADTs will again have subtypes. We'll get there, and that is one of the major chunk. And next, when we talk about the next event which falls under hospital workflow, is scheduling of an appointment. Okay, and all the appointments are indicated using SIU. Okay, which is nothing but scheduling information unsolicited. We'll look at the message types which fall under SIU as well. Just to give you an overhead, I'm going through all the message types that we have. So ADT is for registration, SIU is for appointments, and then after meeting the doctor, they would need to place an order for any labs that has to be done. So that whole event falls under the action of ORU, which is nothing but ORM, which is nothing but order message. Okay,
That's
and
for the
once the order,
placing. ORM is for order placing, right? Order
yes,
request.
right.
Okay.
And then once the order is placed, the labs will perform the diagnosis or analysis, whatever they have to do, and they will send back the charges from the lab to the hospital desk, or to the doctor's desk. And that information is indicated with a message type which is called as ORU.
Yep.
Okay,
That's the
ORU is
difference.
nothing but order result unsolicited. Okay. And then once all of this is done, so now clinical related information, clinical related thing is done, and then doctor and labs will send back the charge related information back to receptionist or the front desk manager. So that information is indicated using a message type which is called as DFT, detailed financial transaction. Okay.
Okay.
So these are the five major events which will cover different these all of these five message types. Apart from these, there are other additional related message types like MDM, which is nothing but medical documents which will cover, which are used basically to uh, translate or transfer data between electronic health record and labs for various message types, or sorry, for various message for various labs which will have loads of data, like transcriptions will have transcription results will have lot of data in it. So for those kind of results, few people will use MDM, but ORU can also be used. Okay.
Yeah. So I think we might have to go in deep about ORU and MDM. That's enough.
Yeah, we'll go through it. I mean, data elements refer back to the same elements that we have in ORU and ORM, but
Mm-hmm.
the placeholders and the segment names will change. We'll go through that. Once you understand ORM and ORU in detail, it wouldn't become much difficult for you to understand MDM. Okay. And
Yep.
then there are other message types like query, QRY, Q01, and QRY Q02, which is nothing but query request and query response. So this will be basically used in a scenario where, say for example, we have we have a patient who has his labs has to be done, and he visits the lab, and lab, say for example, he is going from one X hospital, and that hospital has an integration with that particular lab. Okay, patient visits the lab, and that lab wants to know the details of the patient, demographic details of what insurances that patient has, and whether he has an active insurance or not. So what the lab does is they collect all those details and they send it to the
Um, Dixon, I think you're not audible now. Did I lose you? You there? Yeah. Okay.
Lakshmi, can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So, okay, I think it got disconnected and reconnected itself. So, from where you did not listen,
I think you were talking about query, QRY.
right? So, for the query related messages, you want did you understand the basic necessity or requirement where this is used?
So you were saying I mean the lab results or the payment information is being queried by the financials.
No, no, no. Say for okay, I will cover the from there again. I am not sure.
Hmm.
I think
I
it
think
got missed.
yeah, I lost
Audio.
it maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So say for example, we have an hospital and a lab, and all the patients who are related to that hospital will visit one specific lab. Okay. And lab people don't need to enter all the information in their system again. Okay. So to avoid this, what lab can do is have an integration with the hospital practice management system where where all the entire patient details are already available in their system. So what lab people can do is they can send a query HL7 message just with the patient ID. Once the patient ID is available, they will send the patient ID, and in response to that, they will send the entire patient related information to the lab desk, like what are the patient name, date of birth, gender, address details, and the insurance details. All of that being will be sent back to the lab information desk. So in this scenario, they will use mostly query related HL7 interfaces.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this is the business requirement behind using query and response. So mostly this is done between labs and hospitals, so
But
that they don't need to do the redundant work of entering patient details again and again
so
into the
this is only
system.
pulling the demographic information of the patient.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so give me 1 second. So training and certification in HL7. So training can be done by self-study or seminars or webinars that are available out there. And you need to read up, you understand, basically you need to understand all of them, but there are three specific chapters within chapter 2 of HL7 material, which will from where you will get the certifying questions in the exam. And
Mm-hmm.
certification will be
Yes.
given by HL7 organization.
Mm-hmm.
And exams are regularly held, and these days we have an option to write it by sitting at home. But they have few basic prerequisites that we have to follow.
Right.
And in India, as I said, it is more frequent now. This is not once or twice in a year. So this is very basic of who can train in HL7. So that ends our slide. But as you know, I will cover a little bit of ADT message for you.
Yeah, I mean,
This is the
show
course content for demo. I
right,
will,
right. I mean,
will yeah.
show me the structure of the HL7. How does the structure looks like? Because in X12, you know, right? It starts with ST and it ends with
Right,
ST.
right,
So,
right,
likewise, you said there is no endpoint for a HL7. So it starts with MSH. There will be a event, and then there will be a PID, and then continued, right?
right. Let me cover that for you. Let me quickly pull out one example message
Mm-hmm.
so that we'll go through it.
And the material is all available on HL7.org, or would you be giving a separate material other than that?
I will be giving separate material for the training that I will be doing.
Okay.
I have sent an email to HL7 org because I think the free material is not available. I have material of 2.5 where I was about to do the certification 2 3 years back.
Yeah.
But right
Yeah.
now, I'm not sure how they are facilitating it, whether they are giving it only after the payment or
Yeah. Now they
something.
are not. Now there is no free material available actually.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would
So,
also need 2.5 only because I'm not looking further for HL7 at this
mhm.
time. So if you have already downloaded 2.5, I think if you can share it, that should be good.
Yeah, I can share it, no problem. Um, so, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. So, this is one sample HL7 message which I pulled out, which is for ADT message. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so, all of these are various segments which are not necessary for us to go right now at this point of time. We'll go through the basics. This is also not needed. Okay. So, as I said, each message type has its own name, uh, and all of these are event driven, and all of these events have each of those, or all of these events have their own trigger event types. Registration is indicated with ADT, admit, discharge, and transfer. They are again subdivided into various subsets. Like when registration is done at the patient desk, that is for the first time visitor. Say, for example, you have already visited the hospital and you just want to update your address details or phone number or something. So this registration as a head is again subdivided into different subtypes. So if you are getting registered for the first time, then that is called as a new registration. Okay. And if there is some updates to your details, like updating your address or name or something else, then that is called as update of patient details or update of your existing information which is already there in the system. Okay. So each of these subtypes are indicated again with different event types. So as you see here, a term called as ADT A04. Okay.
Hmm.
So if you take ADT as head and ADT as a major branch, within ADT you have A04, which will indicate new patient registrations, and ADT A08, which will indicate update of patient information. And these have their own alternatives, which is nothing but ADT A28. This is also for new patient registration, which we can say.
Okay.
and it has its own alternate like ATA31. So there is no major difference between these two, but there are few differences like additional fields present in ADT A28 and A31. So, but when we talk in the industry, most of the demographic related information is transmitted through ADT A04, A08, and A28 and A31. These are the two major event types which we come across when we talk about registrations and all. Okay.
Right.
And when we go back to SI, which is nothing but scheduling information unsolicited, the term we use the term unsolicited because it is a unidirectional message which will flow only from practice management to EHR, and that is common. It makes sense to have only unidirectional flow because no one will go to the doctor, schedule an appointment, and send it back to the practice management system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So unsolicited indicates it's a message type which usually flows only in one direction, from which is nothing but from practice management, which is front desk manager, to the doctor.
Right.
Okay, and this has widely used message ranges of SIU S12, which is for new appointments, and S14, which is for update of existing appointments, and S15, which is for cancellation of existing appointment. Okay.
Okay.
And then the next event that we were discussing about was ORM. This has O01, which is nothing but order message.
Okay.
Hello,
Yeah. Yeah.
can you?
Um.
Hey,
Yeah.
sorry, I think it got disconnected again.
It should be fine. Yeah, I think you are at order message OR1.
Yeah, so OR1, and within ORM we have two events. So within when we talk about labs, we have discussed that we have two events. If you relate back to hospital workflow, we had an order being sent from doctor to labs, and we received the results back from, which is second event. We received the results back from labs to doctor's desk again, which is ORU R01. Okay, this is under ORU R01. So this is another message type
Yeah.
results. And then we have DFT, detailed financial transaction. Detailed financial transaction is indicated with P01, and this will indicate all the financial related transactions.
So where
Okay,
does ORX come in here?
I I haven't heard ORX. Did you look it up somewhere?
You did not see ORX so far?
No, I haven't checked ORX anywhere. I haven't seen ORX anywhere. I don't think uh, it's a standard event type.
Um,
Where did you come across that?
OBX. Okay,
OBX.
OBX.
Yeah,
Sorry,
OBX is there.
OBX. Yeah, not
OBX is
ORX.
a
Sorry.
segment type.
Yeah,
So it's not a message type. So these things will indicate message types, and
right.
each of these will indicate the event type, which type of event it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's look back to the HL7 structure. Let me.
And what is the notepad you are using like? Because it's pre-populating.
What is pre-populating? It is
Oh,
Notepad plus plus,
oh, okay.
the regular one. So as I said, each of these messages, let me increase the font size a little. Okay. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So each of these, as we discussed before, each message will have various segments. So each of these are segments that you can see. Okay. A message, nothing but message segment header. So every HL7 message should have an message for sure, because that will indicate what that message is all about.
Yep.
Okay. And it's like your index to which you see in your textbook.
hmm
Okay, it will tell you what type of textbook it is and what are the contents within that particular textbook. Okay,
So it's
so
a
a
it's
message is a mandatory segment.
yeah, it's a header for the
Right,
transaction. Okay.
right. So this is one segment, and EVN is nothing but an event segment which will indicate what type of event it is. Okay,
Okay. That's a
so
required one.
yes,
Okay.
event type is not essential. It is
hmm
not a required segment. We'll look at what are required and what are not required later down the line. Um, so next PID, NK1, GT1, IN1, IN2, we'll look at them. So these are the segments as you see. To understand an HL7 message structure, it consists of various segments, and each segment is again divided into fields. So the data element which is held between two pipes is called as field. Okay, and
Yep.
each segment is divided or separated from other segment using a carriage return. CR or CRLF, anything is fine. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions here with regards to segment separator?
No, I think we should be good.
Okay. And if you look at the fields, each field is separated with the help of a pipe, as we have seen before about the segment field separator. So the data held between these pipes is called referred to as one field, and each within each field, if there are components, those components are separated with the help of uh, caret. Okay,
Okay. Yep. I mean the first name, middle name, and last name.
right.
Okay.
So in this example, let me see if we have something for
Ampersand?
subcomponent. Yeah, we don't have
Uh,
here for a subcomponent.
no, no,
I
no.
will search for it, but that is used for subcomponent, and this is the repetition that I was talking about. Say for example, the patient has two phone numbers. Okay, this field which you see here between these two is actually holding the phone number. This entire field. This is one field which is a dedicated placeholder within HL7 message for sending the phone number. But if say patient has two phone numbers, they use this repetition character as you see here tilde in order to say that these are two different data elements but of same data nature. Okay, which is nothing but the phone number.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
No, I think we're good with that.
Okay. So these are the delimiters how we use. So within a message, within message, a message is mandatory for any message that we have. Without a message, we cannot have an HL7 message. But rest of the segments like EVN, PID, NK1, or whatever, they will change. They will keep on changing based on the message type that we have.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go through each field of each field of a message segment. Um, so within a
Yeah.
message segment, the first field will always cover uh, pipe. Okay, and the second one will always indicate it as delimiters. Okay, only for a message segment.
Okay, so does that mean that these are the delimiters we're going to use in the transaction? Is that what you're trying
Yes,
to state there? Okay.
yes, yes. So this is MSH1, this is MSH2, and from here you keep counting as MSH field 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and go and so on.
Mhm.
Okay. So only for MSH this particular thing applies, where MSH segment itself initially it is called as 1, and in 2 we have delimiters that are being used in message entire message down the line.
Right.
Okay. But when we go to the next EVN or PID or whatever, apart from any segment apart from MSH, the first field is indicated as EVN1, second field is indicated as EVN2 and EVN3 and so on.
Okay.
Okay. So what is MSH3 and what is MSH4, 5? Each of these placeholders have their own names, which we need to understand in detail in order to understand each of those message structures. Okay. So
Okay.
MSH1 always indicates the pipe. MSH2 always indicates the delimiters. So this is how the HL7 message is read usually. Okay.
Yeah. 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 Right.
So MSH3 always indicates sending application. MSH4, let me write down all of them for you
Yeah.
and then we'll
Yeah, it's
go
a
through each one of them.
receiving application as well.
Sending
Uh,
facility,
facility.
receiving app, MSH.
So this detail you will have in your notes, right? The one which
Yes,
you said
yes.
regarding the.
I'll share you the document. I'll share you a document which
Mhm.
will have all the information in detail.
Okay.
Okay.
This is
Today
7F.
we'll
Yeah.
just cover MSH segment.
Yeah.
Further, we'll go through details of other things, date, time.
And how much time do you need to go through the complete? Because you have 12 sessions in your course structure.
Hmm.
Because I have a very good understanding on the HL7, but I want to really brush through and again go through key concepts. So how
Hmm.
do you want to restructure it? Because I don't think we would have a luxury of spreading around 20 classes this session. So how do you want to do? What is your availability to get this knocked out as quick as possible?
So we will go through the sessions on a daily basis for 1 or 1.5 hour every day,
Okay.
uh, excluding weekends.
Okay.
So
So Saturday and Sunday, it's not doable for you, right?
Saturday is still doable. Saturday, see, if I am available, I can definitely take it.
Okay.
But Sunday is not possible because Sundays I wake up early in the morning and go to church. So
Okay.
Sunday I wouldn't be able to.
Now
But for
that's
Saturday we can plan up if I'm available. So
sure,
mostly it
absolutely.
would take. Um, so for what you need, because
Hmm.
I think we need to cover little detail for you.
Yeah.
Um, it is not just certification. Certification can be done even by a person who doesn't even understand about hospital industry and all. I know
Okay.
people who have done it because it is all
Okay.
about memorizing what are the fields, what are the
Hmm.
data types, what are the standard limitations that all. If you read through chapters 2A, 2B, 2C, it is done. You can do the certification. But with specifically with your requirement that you have, I think we need to go into little detail, which will cover, I think, 10 to 15 sessions. 10 to, uh, I mean, again, it depends on how you're catching up. If you're catching up
Right.
fast, we can quickly jump into integrations and all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Let's
as you
shoot it for
said, you
10
need,
sessions. Yeah.
yeah, as you said, you need details of each message type in detail.
Hmm.
That itself will take a lot of time because if I say patient ID, you understand patient ID. But within patient ID, you have MRN, PID.
Yeah. I
MRN,
mean,
patient ID,
I
unique
think,
identifier, and all.
Praveen, I think we need not go into such detail. Like, when you said PID, if you just give me that structure saying that, okay, out of PID we have 14 elements, and one is the required, second is the required, third is optional, and
Okay.
maybe fourth is unused. And what is that field? If it's an MRN or the name, first name, last name. I think I pretty much get that. I think we need not go to that granular level for the each message type in detail. If there are any questions, I'll probably ask you in the session itself. So
Okay.
let's
Then
do this way. Maybe when you send me the material, we can look at, okay, for the next 1 hour for next day, we're gonna look at maybe from page number 2 to page number 20. So that way, I will have a read through, and then I will have a glance on that material. Then you can come back, you can walk through everything, and then if there is an appetite to take it more, I will also ask you to take it more. So
okay.
that's where I, because these are pretty much known aspects to me, but I am trying to
Mm.
relearn it again.
Okay. Okay, great. Then I think we will cover details of the basic segments down the
Yeah,
line. And so, what are the data elements that you are looking at granular level? Is that ORU that you
yeah.
said?
ORU, ORM,
Okay.
ORX, OBX.
OBX.
Sorry, OBX.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
I
OBX
always
is
get.
again a segment. It's not a
Yeah,
message type.
yeah,
So yeah, we will go through them in detail. Others we will
yeah,
cover on a very high level.
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, the
But
segments is where we got to really understand. Then message types. I would look at ADT, labs. As I said, cardiology, radiology, MDM,
mhm.
diagnosis, transactions. You have TRN, right?
No transactions.
Is there a message
There
called?
are transcription results which we use MDM, MDM
um,
T01, MDM T02.
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna look at
Okay.
those things in detail, and because see, when you come back to the payments or anything, that's only works in our area back in India, but payments doesn't work the same way as you have showed in this country. So it's a
Yeah.
different, yeah. So it's a different scenario. I implemented
Right.
HIS in Asia Pacific region
Uh-huh.
when I was working there. So the methodology what we follow there, it's quite opposite than what we see in the Western countries. So again, if you look at European countries, the HIS is completely different because I worked in three regions, so I do understand how that business really works.
Right.
So yeah, so let's focus on those specific message types and
Mhm.
segments, and then we can go from there. And if there are any questions I can ask you, then I'll ask you.
Okay. So a message 9
Yeah.
is for message and event type. A message 10 is for control ID. A message 11 is for processing ID. So mostly till here we use and a message 12 is for version.
Yeah, and next is the environment and the version. You have environment, right? P is the production of the
Yes.
test.
P is production or
Yeah.
that is what the processing
Oh,
ID
that's
indicates.
okay.
So we'll go through each of them. So message 1 is pipe as I indicated before. Message 2 is the delimiters that we use within the HL7 message. 3 is sending application, which is nothing but as we have discussed that
Right.
HL7 message is playing between two different applications. Okay, for the data to play between two different applications. So this message structure will indicate where the message is coming from and from which facility, which is nothing but the physical location of that particular uh, hospital or particular application. Okay. So MSH3 indicates the sending application, MSH4 indicates sending facility. Okay. And MSH5 indicates receiving application, and MSH6 indicates receiving facility. So say for example, we have practice management and an EHR system. So sending application becomes practice management, and sending facility becomes the actual physical location of that particular facility
Yes.
or that hospital. And same goes with MSH 5 and 6. Receiving application is nothing but EHR, electronic health record. You know about EHR and PM systems, right?
Very much. Yeah. I implemented a
Okay.
EHR system. I am an Epic certified resource.
Oh, perfect. Then, okay, great. Then, so on EMR side, you have MSH5 as EMR and MSH6 as EMR's facility that we use. So MSH7 is the date and time when the message is being triggered. MSH8 is security type. I am not very much aware of this. I haven't used this ever. We mostly leave it blank.
Okay.
And MSH9 is a message type, which is nothing but this is the actual name of the message, you can say.
Right.
Okay. So if we
Yeah.
have, we can
Like
use the
A,
combinations.
like ADT is a message
ADT
type, right?
is the actual trigger event,
Yeah. But
and
scro
the
sc scroll to the top. So you have ADT A4, right?
ADT A04, which will
Yeah.
this will specifically indicate that this is a registration message. So you can use various combinations like within ADT you have ADT A04 or ADT A28 or ADT A08 or ADT A31
So
in this
so
way.
that is MSH9, which is message or
9.
event type, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So then MSH10, which is nothing but the message control ID,
Right.
uh, which is the unique identifier of this particular message. So
Right.
all through the messages that we send or receive, each message will have its own unique number. That unique number is indicated here, and basically people use the standard date, time, seconds, and milliseconds to
Hmm.
indicate the uniqueness of that message. And at times it is also concatenated with PID
Right.
3, which is nothing but the patient ID, to ensure that that specific message is so unique at that point of time when it is being triggered.
Okay.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then MSH 11 is nothing but the processing ID, whether it's a production message or a test message or a demo message, something of that sort.
Right. Right.
Okay. And
Never
MSH
used
12
it.
indicates the version of that specific message. It could be 2.3, 2.5, 2.7,
Right.
etc. So three is totally different. It's Greek. It's like Greek and Latin. It's a complete change to the language, HL7 language altogether, which is why it is not accepted by most of them. And I don't see anyone. Um, I
Yeah.
haven't seen anyone in the past
The,
5 years
the
who is implementing three.
yeah. Most of the industry is going around 2.5 only actually,
Yeah,
or
2.5, 2.7.
2.3.1
Yeah,
and 2.5 are mostly accepted.
yeah,
Fire
yeah.
is the upcoming one. And you have an understanding on fire also?
Yeah, I have done basics understanding on FHIR because I worked on a mobile application where they used fire standards, but
Okay.
that is very basic. It is pretty much same. It is
Hmm.
also it also has defined placeholders and all. We just need to know which tag holds what.
Okay. How are the messages represented? It's the same message types. I mean, the segment types they're using, or it's a different segment types?
It's different. It's different. They use different. When I looked at JSON message structures,
Hmm.
and this information is available on HL7 org. The retail
Okay.
structure of each message types and how the data elements are structured. Everything is indicated in the HL7 org.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically, it has keys and their own values within JSON object.
Okay.
So XML, I think XML is also pretty much same. It holds parent tags and child tags.
Hmm.
Like you can say, I think it is something like PID is the parent tag, and PID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those are indicated as child tags. If you something of that sort. but each of them have dedicated placeholders, dedicated parent tags, dedicated child tags, which should be followed, which definitely relates back to the standards that they are using.
Okay.
Okay, and so I think we'll wrap up here.
Okay. Sure.
We'll
Sure.
go through rest of these segments and all in our next session.
Yeah. So
Uh,
let me go through your course structure. You said healthcare message standards, concepts and principles, building blocks, which is data types you're talking about, building messages and segments. So when you
mhm.
said building messages and segments, how are you are building it on a notepad or
No, no,
using a tool for that?
we'll build it on Mirth integration engine. Once we go through all the message types,
Okay.
then we will start building using sample database. We'll extract the data from the database and we'll start building an HL7 message using Mirth,
Okay.
having the transformations and all.
So do I need to have any software for this?
Yeah, you need to install Mirth.
Okay.
It's a
Uh,
freeware. You can use it,
yeah.
no problem.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, they have a database which we can play with.
No, what we can do is you can install SQL as well, which is the basic version, the
Oh, okay.
Express edition.
Mm, yeah.
So just install SQL Express edition, and then Mirth integration engine. I think that should be fine.
Okay. Do you have any remote machine where I can connect with?
I am not sure. Srinivas, do we have any remote machine? Srinivas, are you there?
So
All right, let me check with him. I am
we'll
not
check. But
exactly
yeah,
sure.
because I'll got to see if I can download or not. Whether my
Mhm.
system supports it or not. But mine is a Apple, so. But I'll see if I can get a
It
Windows and then I
supports.
will
It
try to.
supports. It supports. I guess it supports.
It supports. Okay.
Uh, yeah, but yeah, it should support. I think it is Java dependent application, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Yeah, I'll
Uh,
work on that and probably we can see. What is this conformance and specification? Your session 7.
that is nothing but what are HL7 standards? What are the required segments and required fields or optionals based on HL7 standards? So that is the conformance that I was referring to. And this course
Oh,
content is prepared by Srinivas, so
okay.
I need to rework on that a little
Okay.
because it
Okay.
would cover entire CCDs and CDS, but we don't get into much detail about CCDs because CCDs is another ocean again, apart
Okay.
from HL7.
Yeah. Okay. So looks like we did 1 and 2 at this time, right? Today?
Yeah,
Or we
just the
pretty much,
basics
right?
and yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Because see, data types, I understand the data types because being in the industry so far, I think it's
right.
pretty much clear. Maybe
Hmm.
specific to any messages or segments, I think, yeah, we will go in detail. Looks like we can do a fast track with because having an
Yeah, we
understanding
have
on all these things.
exactly. We are running very fastly. But for if
Because
it is for you
it's
have
a
yeah, right,
repetition.
right.
It could be a
Yeah,
repetition for me, but yeah, I just want to make sure that my understanding is aligning with the actual industry because when I'm looking at hands-on. I think a
absolutely
hands-on session is where you have 9 and 10. I think that's where we might have to pull it little earlier so that we spend more hands-on and rather than data stuff. I mean,
right. So you know
theory.
JavaScript?
No, I don't know JavaScript. So technically, I am very weak. I'm not a technical guy. So
Okay,
that's where I think I will have a disconnect.
okay. No problem. I mean, you have most transformations can be done using message builders within Mirth where you don't need to know JavaScripting. But if you
Okay.
know JavaScripting, that will give you more feasibility of doing the transformations that you need to.
I think I understand JavaScripting. Yeah, as I said, I don't have hands-on on JavaScripting. Probably, yeah. We will try with Mirth and then
Yeah.
also see JavaScript. To what extent should I be learning it? Then we can see from there.
Yep.
Nice, nice, Praveen. So, which church do you go? You're saying you go to church on Sundays in
Yeah, there
Bangalore.
is no in Hyderabad.
Oh,
So
you're in
I
Hyderabad?
I
Okay,
am in Hyderabad. Yeah.
okay,
So there is a church called Victory Church here at Gachibowli. So I
okay. You're
go
from
to that
Gachibowli.
church.
Okay.
Yeah. You are
Victory
basically
Church,
from?
Victory Church. I'm from BHL. We're very close to Gachibowli.
Oh, good, good, good. So you are
So,
in India or in US?
no, I'm not in India at this time. I'm in US.
Okay. Okay.
So this is Brother Anil's church or what?
Jeevan. Pastor's name is Jeevan.
G1. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this a Baptist church or okay, Victory Church?
No,
This
It's
is
an
new.
it's an independent church.
Uh,
So I recently moved to this place. I'm staying at Manikonda right now. I recently moved
okay.
here. So I started
Okay.
visiting here. Or else I used to visit Baptist Church Secunderabad.
Okay. Okay. I think in Manikonda you have Joseph Kishore's church. If you want to go there, I can get you the address. Do you know Joseph
Joseph
Kishore?
Kish?
He
No.
is a well-known pastor on the TV.
I think if I see him, I will.
Yeah, you will know him. You will know him. Yeah, because my cousins stay in Manikonda and they go to that church.
Oh, okay.
As you said, you are recently married. I think that would be the right place to start with for you.
Yeah.
That will be helpful, actually. Yeah, they support families very well.
Oh, okay. Where is the church actually?
It's in Masaptank. Oh, no, there is one near that Attapur Pillar, I think, somewhere near Attapur Pillar. So from Manikonda, you can get connected from the back. There is a route you can go from the back, very
Okay.
close by. Yeah, I will get you the address, probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
will
Just
definitely do.
give me the address. I'll visit there once
Yeah, yeah,
for
absolutely,
sure. So
absolutely.
which
And
church do you go?
In BHL, we have Lutheran Church, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's where we go. Where are you native of? Like,
I am from Adilabad, Mancherial,
okay,
basically from, but from the past 9, 10 years, I am staying in Hyderabad only.
okay, okay, good, good. Nice to hear, man. Yeah,
All right,
very good.
then we'll catch up
Okay,
Monday. Uh,
sure. Can we catch up tomorrow, or you want to do it again on Monday only? Because tomorrow is what Saturday.
it'll-
You are going somewhere?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Actually,
okay.
my brother is in hospital. I have to
Oh,
go
okay,
there now.
okay,
So
okay.
mostly we'll get him discharged tomorrow, which is why I'll be
Oh,
caught
should
up
be
in
fine.
other things.
Should be fine. Which hospital is he now?
He's at Yashoda, Secunderabad.
Oh, okay, okay. Is that something critical?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, he